We have a problem, a gambling problem. Not just you and me, but the entire world. 46% of adults worldwide have gambled in the past year. We're talking about 2.3 billion people. And the amount of people with risky or problematic gambling habits is about 10% of the world's adult population. Governments are trying to combat this problem, with mixed results. So let's take a look at putting it all on red. The entire global market of betting was over 580 billion USD in 2024, with 2025 expected to be another record year. A huge growth factor is the rise of online gambling. For example, 30 states in the US have now legalized online sports betting, which by itself has been growing at an annual growth rate of 14% year over year. At this point, online gambling has generated about a quarter of the total gross win, a fancy way of saying the money gambling companies make when you lose. By 2028, these numbers are expected to grow to 700 billion USD globally. The US is the new kid on the block though. Some regions stand over us for their gambling culture and economic scale. Europe is an older market and makes most of its revenue from online gambling. They actually have the highest global market share from it. Over in Asia, a big chunk is through destinations like Macau, while Singapore has the second highest losses per capita, coming second only to Australia, the country with not only the highest losses per capita, but also the highest gambling participation rate, at 73% of adults gambling in the past 12 months. Speaking of Australia, why don't we take a look at how gambling goes on in the land down under? The history of gambling in Australia is long and complicated. From horse racing in the 1930s to the introduction of pokies in New South Wales in the 1950s to today, with slot machines and sports betting everywhere in the country. This habit has cost the Australian public dearly, with annual losses nationwide being around 31 billion Australian dollars. That's just over 1,600 USD per person, comparable to what the Aussie government spends on social programs. What's crazy is that this insanity persists even through extreme cost of living pressures, showing just how ingrained gambling is in Australia. The Australians aren't the only English-speaking country with a huge gambling issue. The UK also has a large gambling industry and a long-time tradition of putting money on the line. Gambling was fully liberalized in the UK in 2005, leading to the proliferation of online betting and advertising. Now, around half of UK adults gamble annually, though their average spend per gambler is nothing compared to Australia. Recent studies show that roughly 48% of 11 to 17-year-olds there have gambled in the past year in some form. This is probably mostly kids playing dice or random low-stakes cards, but the fact that the proportion of kids gambling is the same as adults is crazy. That's some Diddy-level grooming. What's even worse is that it's everywhere in the UK. I was surprised when I went and saw slot machines in the local bars and casinos and betting shops everywhere. While the UK and Australia have large gambling markets and even bigger issues, the US is the newer major player. At least the English Premier League's football clubs have had to start removing betting companies as shirt sponsors due to harsh criticism. Meanwhile, in the US, we've become more and more deeply entrenched in gambling culture. So much so that the US is now the world's largest gambling market by revenue. This isn't just because of big hubs like Vegas either, but because of the big nationwide expansion of gambling options. As gambling becomes more popular, so does losing money. Americans are collectively losing billions of dollars annually, even in a time of lackluster economic performance. I guess we have that in common with the Australians. On average, households that participate in sports betting spend about $1,100 a year on losing. This is money that could go towards saving, investing, or drugs. In fact, studies show that in states with legalized online betting, net investments by household dropped 14%. In other words, for every dollar spent on bets, those households put $2 less into stocks, retirement, etc. Like everything else, there's a link between gambling habits and credit issues. The spread of online gambling is correlated with lower credit scores, higher credit card debt, and extremely degenerate parlays. Probably due to these insane bets, bankruptcy filings rose 28% on average in states that legalize sports betting. Correlation doesn't equal causality, but it does make you wonder, are the people that shouldn't be betting on the Knicks going to the finals the ones doing it? Meaning that people who are on the edge economically might be more likely to engage in gambling. But that doesn't mean you can't lever pull your way into a bad financial position. Every passing year, the issue's getting worse. Between 1 and 2% of US adults are estimated to suffer from gambling-related disorders. That's about 2.5 to 5 million Americans, with millions more showing risk of disorder. Consequences can be dire. The average debt of a problem gambler in treatment is tens of thousands of dollars, and the addiction is linked to higher rates of mental health issues, like an unalive attempt rate much higher than the general population. It's pretty common for problem gambling to lead to relational and social issues too, with some surveys saying that up to 2/3 of problem gamblers fund their addiction with crime. In a dollar amount, one analysis put the annual social cost of problem gambling in the US at around $13 to $15 billion, including healthcare, lost work productivity, bankruptcy, and criminal justice expenses. In 2017, the only legal state for sports betting was Nevada, but by late 2024, 39 states and DC had legalized sports betting in one way or another. A multi-billion-dollar industry was born practically overnight. Both through in-person sportsbooks and the big one, online, the growth's been parabolic. In 2017, the amount bet using legal sports betting was about $4.9 billion. In 2023, it was over $120 billion, with no signs of slowing down. From 2018 to 2024, Americans bet about $450 billion on sports alone, making $40 billion in revenue for the sportsbooks in the legal states. And then there's online casino gaming. It's only legal in a few states like New Jersey and Pennsylvania, but there, online casino revenues can be even higher than sports betting. The thing is, if you have 24/7 gambling on your phone and laptop, whenever you want to put just a few dollars on the line, it's right there. Because of this, about 8% of US households in 2023 were involved in online sports betting or casino games. That's about 27 million Americans, and I'm sure that number is much higher in 2025 and beyond. The new wave of gambling is targeted to a much younger demographic. Surveys show that most sports bettors are young adult men. Most of them watch games and bet through apps like DraftKings or FanDuel. And we all have that one friend who physically cannot watch a sporting event without asking what the odds are or cooking up the most devious parlay imaginable. The problem gambling rates among sports bettors are at least twice as high as non-sports bettors, since sports betting's instant play high-frequency nature is meant to be addictive. These companies aggressively market to acquire customers and offer risk-free bets and perpetual promos, which hook people into betting regularly. Keep in mind too that a lot of these promos are also tax-free for the gaming companies, so they write these off as a business expense in their tax reports. The convenience of betting apps means that gambling is now available anytime, anywhere. A huge change from the pre-2017 era, where you'd have to go to the casino or find your local illegal bookie. Since traditional gambling had limits like the opening hours or location of the casino, there was a limit to how much you can play at any given time. Now you can just put bets late at night or when you're out 5 beers deep looking to lose money. The gambling industry didn't just magically hook young people to start downloading their apps. Just like the buy now, pay later companies did, watch that video after this one to learn more, they started by sponsoring famous people to attract new customers. These endorsements make betting look fun and exciting. By aligning with public figures like the notorious degenerate gambler Michael Jordan and former king of the rap game Drake, gambling companies tap into celebrity appeal and fan followings. For example, Shaq became the face of an Australian betting app campaign, instantly garnering national attention. Coming back stateside, Jamie Foxx and Kevin Hart front major online bookies, and Drake is always bragging about his big wins in crypto casinos. Shit, even Drewski is sponsored by DraftKings. Speaking of, Twitch and YouTube influencers have also played a controversial role. Popular streamers live stream online casino play or promote offshore gambling sites to huge audiences, many of whom are underage. This has led to scandals where some influencers were found to be paid by gambling sites to showcase big wins. Drake is probably the most notorious example, with it being widely reported that he was being paid by Stake for playing on streams. Here are some clips of Drake and Aiden Ross gambling on stream, most likely for teenage audiences to get them to gamble online.
167. No, it's gonna squirt right here. Stop. Oh my god.
Oh my god!
Wait,
Hold on.
that's gotta be something, no?
Yeah, it's going.
Has to be, yeah, of course.
I like the way it's going up.
What does that, have a ticket? We'll take it. What we do? Come on. One more! Okay, we'll take it. What is that, 3, 4? We'll take it. We're not greedy. We're grateful. Where are we staying at? We're staying at that 3 mark, huh?
Let's just show. It's been a good night.
Yeah, it's been a great night. Great night.
Remember, he's not risking his own money for these streams. Plus, since Stake is an offshore casino, there's no reason they can't manipulate the odds so Drake wins more than a normal person would. These kinds of controversies and risks of false advertising to underage viewers prompted Twitch to ban online casino streams. Still, you can find these kinds of ads with influencers, tipsters, and handicappers showing big wins on Instagram and TikTok. The main issue is that kids are especially susceptible to this kind of manipulation. Research funded by Australia's government found that children as young as 12 feel that seeing their favorite online personalities gambling makes it seem cool and safe rather than financially risky. They see the easy money rather than the big losses. It's not just the gambling companies doing the conditioning on children either. Loot boxes, card packs, and randomized in-game rewards mimic slot machine mechanics almost perfectly. From FIFA packs to CSGO loot crates, kids are learning early on that spending money for random prizes is totally normal, even if it's just one step away from actual gambling. When you combine that kind of early exposure with the glamorization of actual gambling, it's no surprise that kids are getting into betting at younger and younger ages. This, of course, raises ethical questions. Are kids actually making these decisions independently, or are they being trained for addiction? People argue that these ads gloss over the risks and use trusted figures to create a false sense of security. When a famous athlete or actor says,
"I already downloaded the app, placed a bet, and won,"
it suggests that gambling is a fun, harmless extension of being a fan. And don't get me wrong, it can be a fun way to add excitement to the game or the fights, but it's problematic for the crackhead types. Because of this, places like Ontario have moved to ban or restrict celebrity gambling endorsements to protect minors. In the UK, a proposed rule would make it illegal for athletes and reality TV stars to be in gambling ads. And our friends, the gamblers down under, have also had their parliament discuss banning celebrities in gambling ads to combat the normalization of betting. Meanwhile, some celebrities have faced backlash. English football legend Peter Shilton, a recovering gambling addict, has spoken out against other famous sports stars promoting online gambling for money. The issue comes with social media. Since social media is way less regulated than TV ads, influencers can still promote gambling by posting about their big wins. All of this is to say that gambling is being marketed as entertainment, and it's a big factor in why youth gambling participation is on the rise. Governments around the world have started to take notice about the problems being caused by rampant gambling. Going back to the UK, they're starting to offer a free service called GamStop, where you can self-ban from online gambling. Italy, Spain, and Belgium have basically regulated gambling ads out of existence, and Congress has pushed a bill that would ban sportsbook advertising on TV during live sports and using AI to personalize ads based on people's betting habits. It's unlikely this bill will pass, since the gambling lobby is going to push really hard to keep this bill down, but it at least shows that Washington recognizes there's a problem. Policymakers are increasingly looking at gambling through the lens of public health, like tobacco and alcohol, meaning we might see some public awareness campaigns, stricter age verification, and addictiveness reduction regulations. At the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see how society balances the upside and downsides of gambling. We already know that unfettered access to betting platforms can create serious societal issues, and young viewers should be especially careful since they're the target of modern gambling marketing. Just like everything else we cover in this channel, understanding the landscape and making informed decisions is key. Expect more conversations about the evolution of the online gambling space as time passes. We hope that with smart regulation and greater awareness, the enjoyment of a casual 16-leg parlay with 100x returns won't come at the expense of public health.